We're now going to look at some skills that you need. That's how to refer to, write, and read legislation. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is standard stuff. Everybody follows the same sort of process, so it's very important that you get it right. So at any time you're referring to or writing or reading legislation, you do it like this. So the first thing is the something, e.g. section 190, you use the word section. Okay, you'll see also sometimes you just use S, lowercase s. So section 191 or S 191. Then how do you write the next sort of category, if you like, subsection as we say. So it's called a subsection. So you have sections, and then this is how, as I said, you've got to follow. There's no other alternative, all right? So you have to follow this. So section 191.1, note the brackets, is called a subsection. So how you would say that is section 191, subsection 1. Then further subsections, section 191, subsection A, 2. That little double I is Roman. I don't know why they do that still, but anyway, it's always done like that. So that's how you would refer to that. So one of the lessons is you don't refer to a section in an act by a page number, because there's multiple ways. As I said, my little Labour Relations Act has got this size, so the numbering will be all over the place. So you can't refer to it by the page. You have to use the exact subsection. You refer to the exact subsection. So I'll go back again. Section 191, 1A2. What are we talking about? Section 191, subsection, subsection. But you would say section 191, 1A2. All right? Then a little trick that you would refer to in the schedule, and I said we're going to be concentrating on that. So when you refer to the schedule, any schedule, you don't say section, you say item. Now, one of the reasons I'm trying to explain this to you is because if you rock up at a arbitration, hearing, whatever it is, and you say, no, it's on page 34 of the Act, people will go like, what? Whereas if you use what I'm talking about, you'll be, you're being professional. That's what you're doing. Right, now how to write down legislation. Okay, so make sure that you've got the correct section. Right, and you start by saying section, writing section or S. Then you write down the section number, section, so 191. If you're referring to a subsection, you write subsection 1 or 2. The subsections are in brackets now. Okay, and then sub A as an example, again brackets. So you must use the bracket. If you're referring to a further subsection, you use brackets as well, and then unfortunately, but just get used to it, a little what we would say is an I is actually a Roman numeral 1, a Roman numeral 2, the 2 I's, and yeah, it can get a little bit dear my card, but anyway. Okay, so how do we read legislation? So in your text there, I've said, let's do these, let's find it. Okay, find section 191.1a. Let's do that now. Okay, I'm going to do the same with you. So I'm going to page through because it's in numerical order. 191, 89. Let's go 191. What did I say? 191.1a. So we're now going to read section 191.1a. Having found it, let's read it together. If there's a dispute about the fairness of a dismissal or a dispute about an unfair labor practice, the dismissed employee or the employee alleging the unfair labor practice may refer the dispute in writing to. That's it. That's what you asked to read. That's what you read. Okay, so let's find now, or let's read in the same vein, section 191, 5B1. So we go down, section 191, we're there already, so we got it. And we go down to the brackets 5 and then B1. Okay, so 5. If a council or commissioner has certified that the dispute remains unresolved, or if 30 days or any further period as agreed between the parties has expired since the council or the commission received the referral and the dispute remains unresolved, go down to 5B, then you say the employee may refer the dispute to the labour court for adjudication if the employee has alleged that the reason for the dismissal is, we're looking at Roman 1. Roman 1 says automatically unfair. Stop. Do you note how I'm reading it? Let's just do the next one, which is 191 6B. So how do you read 191 6B? 191 6 says, in brackets 6, despite subsection 5A or 5A, the director must refer the dispute to the labour court if the director decides, on application by any party to the dispute, that to be appropriate after considering, and we're reading, 6B, reading after considering, B, whether there are questions of law raised by the dispute. What am I trying to illustrate to you? If it says, as in that example, read section 191 6B, you start with section 191 6B. Okay? So, because it says B, you don't just read the B part, whether there are questions of law, because that won't make any sense at all. You read the whole thing. Section 191, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, find 6, and then read the whole of 6 to B. So, finally, as an example, 191, 12C. So again, what you do is you go down to the numeric, following the numerical to 12. You'll see that in brackets, and I'm going to read that off. If an employee who is dismissed by reason of the employer's operation requirements may elect to refer the dispute either to arbitration or to the labour court if, we're looking at C, the employer employs less than 10 employees, irrespective of the number of employees who are dismissed. Do you understand? What I'm trying to show you is, you don't read, that's a good example, you don't read A, 12A, and then B, and then C. You only read the main part in the paragraph 12, and then C. Okay? So, if you do that, and you know how to do that, then from now on the tools that you have will be very useful, and anybody that you talk to will get a sense that you know what the hell you're talking about, which is very important. So, exercise 6. What are we going to do here in your textbook, in your workbook, is to find information from the Labour Relations Act. Right. So you're going to use the Labour Relations Act to find, using your copy of the Labour Relations Act, find the following. Back to the Bayete case study, and let's look to be able to understand which legislation is referred to in a particular case, the Bayete case for this exercise. So you're going to read the Bayete case. Let's see. What legislation or act has been applied in the Bayete case? What sections are in particular being applied? Find the sections in the Labour Relations Act. Right. So let's go and have a look at the Bayete case. So we're doing exercise 8, and I've got now the Transport and General Workers Union, another case we've read a few times, and by now you're fairly familiar with that. So the exercise says, what legislation or act has been applied in the Bayete case? Well, the answer is this, right in the beginning. It says the dispute has been referred to the court in terms of item. What did I say about item? Item. Schedule. Remember? Section, act, item in a schedule. It says item 21A. Remember how to read that as well, because the same thing applies, of Schedule 7 to the Labour Relations Act of 1995. So what's the answer? What legislation has been applied? Labour Relations Act 6 of 1995, Schedule 7, Item 21B. What sections in particular have been applied? There's sections. I'm trying to give you a little bit of a trick there. And now, so we've got the sections, Item 2, etc. What has been applied? Now, C says, so find the sections mentioned in the Labour Relations Act. So as I said before, you're going to take your copy of your act and you're going to look for Schedule 7. Remember I showed you where the schedules are? And then look for item 21A. So I want you to pause the work with the video here so that you can do that. So I hope you've done this exercise because it's an important learning point. And I hope you see there is no Schedule 7, Item 21A. Do you see that? It isn't there. So, what? Well, the learning is this, is what I said to you before, is you need to make sure that you actually have the current version of the legislation that we're looking at. You need to have the up-to-date version. So, sorry to trick you like this, but anyway, it's a learning issue. Unless you have the current version, you're not going to find. But have a look at the case, 9th of December 1998. That is when it was heard. So it's an old case. So as I said to you, what happens with legislation, it gets updated. And one of the things that was updated was that Schedule 7 was actually removed completely. Why? Because the Schedule 7, anyway, but it's been removed completely. So you need to be aware of that as make sure that you get the correct legislation. So the learning points, the key learning points that I hope we have gathered. Well, the Labour Relations Act is written in a logical way, and we can find things. We never ever learn legislation. You understand that? I'm not teaching you. That's why when I read there, you read those sections and subsections, etc. You probably go like, "Oh, what the hell?" Okay, we don't learn it. What we do is we learn how to find it, and then we read it. And I've taught you how to read it, etc. Legislation changes, and I'm afraid it changes quite often. So you need to make sure that you have the current legislation before you. So we learn to find out what the law on a particular point is, to search for the correct section of the Act and read it until you understand what it says or does not say, what applies to and what it doesn't apply to. Now we're going to do that now in the next module. We're going to learn how to interpret legislation, how to read it, and so on.